Shabbat Shalom, dear community friends and family. This Shabbat is very special. It only happens 5 times a year when we finish one of the entire books of the Torah, the book of Numbers. The book of Numbers is interesting that we finish it at this time and we go to the book of Deuteronomy because the first 4 books God dictated specifically word for word, and Moses wrote it and then gave it to the Jewish people. The 4th book, God spoke through Moses' voice box, so to speak. It was Moses speaking with God, entering Moses' mind and speaking through Moses. So there's a separation between this, the first 4 books and the 5th book. The last part of the 4th book, which this week is a double portion, addresses many factors. Begins with the concept of maintaining one's word, making vows and promises, commitments, to what extent a person must follow what he commits himself to do. There's no way out of it except very extenuating circumstances. What happens if a person does it on his own? If a child does it, if a wife does it, who has control over what they say, can they nullify, negate a commitment? But the underlying factor is what you say you must fulfill. A statement of a person is a recognition of that person's character. It's not only what you do, it's what you say. In life, a person's word is his bond. A person cannot be reliable on his word. He cannot be reliable on anything. So we begin that as you become a nation and you're going to go out into the world and become a nation like other nations in a certain way, conducting commerce, interacting with other people, the one thing you have to remember is what utters from your lips, you must fulfill. Fundamental. And then the Torah goes into another aspect of the dividing of the land and the people that are responsible for the division of the land and the heads of the tribes that will take control of that process, and to make sure that the land is given in such a way that the larger tribes get more property and the lesser tribes get less property. Each one according to what they need. Each one in a very, very fair manner of distribution. There was a lottery, there was a voice from God, multiple factors integrated to determine which land goes to which people. And then we move into the trips of the Jewish people, the actual journey. They traveled 42 journeys, 42 camps. That is represented, according to the Baal Shem Tov, of each person going through 42 different steps in life, different patterns. It's that pattern that leads us eventually to the Holy Land. The Holy Land, not only geographically, which is critical, but also conceptually, a land of holiness, a land of sanctity, a land that's connected to God, a land that lives according to God's standards. We also talk about conquering the land, the various battles that the Jewish people had to have in order to get the rights that were theirs from the beginning of history, from when God gave it to them. They first came with peaceful notions. When that wasn't accepted, they had to go to war. And those wars were won with God's help. Towards the end of the portion, we read about 2.5 tribes. Reuven, Gad, and half of Manasseh. They have tremendous flocks of sheep, great population, and they conquered a part of the other side of the Jordan. And they said, let us settle here. We have land here. We've conquered land here. We'll stay here with our families. And we promise that we will not stop until every Jew is settled in their property. And God says, give them the land on the condition that they will march forth in front of the army of Jews. And they will not come back home until every Jew is settled. It's not because you conquered your own little space, you have your own comfort zone, that you thought to care about somebody else. The trip into the Holy Land required every single Jew to be responsible for each other. And that is underscored in this portion. And as we end the book of Numbers, we take our last trip until we come to the border, Jordan, Yardon, Yericho, the Jericho border. That border, the Jewish people gather to their final trek across the Jordan River that will be taken by Joshua, not Moses. And next week we read about how Moses gives him his last will and testament that takes up the entire 5th book of the Torah of Deuteronomy. We are all prepared to enter into a holy land conceptually and practically, in our ideology and our lifestyle. And when we do that, when we're ready, all of us, then Almighty God will take us with joy and happiness, and everyone in the world will be joyful and happy as well, as we will all be settled with peace and tranquility, and no nation will lift up their swords against other nations, and all warfare material will be transformed to material of growth, learning, kindness, benefit, efficiency, and the best any society could ever hope for. Have a good Shabbos. God bless you all.